Well, hello and welcome, Barb. It is so fun to have you on the Sound Off. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. It is an absolute pleasure to do this with you and to be part of your mission. Appreciate it.
I know, early days of our working together, I felt like we spent a lot of time virtually like this. But more and more, I get to enjoy seeing you in person at a lot of our training events and our summits around the country. So I feel like we're stepping back in time a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we have spent a lot of time together, and it has been a wealth of experience for me to meet people at the conferences as well and to share what we do. So thank
I
you.
know. We're just so glad to have you part of our community and hopefully via this podcast getting to know even more of our community as we dive into today's topic. So before we do that though,
Yeah.
I promised a little bit of a roast. We love to put our guests on the spot a little bit to
All
share
right.
something kind of personal. We're going to talk about some serious stuff, some serious work that we all engage in our communities and how to really to work together to do it even better. But before we get to all that stuff, it's just fun for people to get to know you on a personal level. So I feel like I know a few of your superpowers. Tell us, I'm just super curious, which of your superpowers you're going to tell us about today.
I don't think you're going to be expecting this one. I thought about it, and I really don't think people realize that I'm part tomboy. Maybe it's because I'm
No,
not.
not.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed that. Just so you, just so you know, those of you who if you're watching, you can see a beautiful Barb. She's always very put together, and I would not have guessed the tomboy part. No, mm-mm.
absolutely true. I grew up out in the country. My neighbor, they were a farm, so played in the barn. And the thing is, if you wanted to play with the other kids in the neighborhood, one of the things we played a lot was baseball. And I was a shortstop. And so that's what I ended up doing. My sister and I were chosen over my brothers to play in the summer league. And so just so you know, I can throw a pretty good, ball, at you at first base. So I figured that might be something you wouldn't expect from me.
I would not have, and I love it because I am the same way. So that's fantastic.
Okay, great.
Now I love you even more. That's great. That's great. So that's a wonderful thing about being a woman today. Like you can be rough and tumble, you can be
Well,
strong, you can be athletic, you can be
yeah,
smart, you can have all the things.
you
So
absolutely can. Yep.
we're very, very privileged to live in this world, in this country, and this day and age. So let's dive into this day and age as we talk about the challenges of keeping our schools and communities safe and sound. One of the things that I always feel when I have a conversation with you and when we're working, when you're at any of our events, is this value that shines through all the work that you do about a truly community centric approach to the work, to keeping our kids safe and sound. So I'd love to start there. I think it's in some ways it's kind of a buzzword that you hear a lot, whole of community approach, community centered approach, however you want to kind of couch it. I feel like we hear it a lot, but I'm not really sure that everybody knows what we're talking about or is even talking about the same thing. So I'm going to let you start us off and define that. What are we talking about here?
To me, in the school setting, we're talking about, we call it a community of care. And it is all of those touch points that students need, and even the staff sometimes, depending on what's going on, is it the nurse? Is it the counselor? Is it the school social worker? There are so many needs of our students right now that are unseen. And I think of a quote from Louise Penny, who is a fabulous writer, and it says, "Teachers and parents think," and I hope I'm surmising this, think that the classrooms are filled with students, but it's really emotions and needs that are bumping around the hallways. And so we need to be there to help them because this is a very important time. It's a way that they're growing, and I think that all of us need to step up. I know we do, but even more so because there is so much going on in their young lives.
No, you're 100% right. I just had a conversation with somebody the other day about resilience and, another big buzzword in the work that we do. But one of the things that I think we all have to own is that for a variety of reasons, and some of them are very unique to our students, our students are not coming to school with the same level of resilience that I would say we had. Maybe it was the fact that we got to run around outside and the world was, in some ways simpler and in other ways not so much, but, whatever you wanna point to, the fact is that our kids are more challenged, and so I think that when you talk about, feelings in the hallways and needs, I think that was always the case, but it feels like today ever more so,
Absolutely,
it's just
absolutely.
feels like 10x, and the thing about this when you're able to, appreciate the landscape for what it is, the needs for what they are, then it gets like, okay, what do we do? How do we go about this? And again, another theme that I feel whenever we're side by side and having these conversations is a focus on connection,
Yes,
a focus on
100%.
not only helping our students to connect but helping the helpers connect, finding the resources within our community because it doesn't matter if you are a small community, a large one, an urban, a rural, underserved, privileged,
Mhm.
whatever. There are resources to work with. There are good, dedicated people who want to wrap their arms around our kids. So how do we do that? How do we find the helpers? Who are the helpers? What
Yeah.
where
Well,
do we start?
sometimes the children choose their helpers because
That's
it's just
true.
that connection
Yeah.
that they may run into. Maybe it's truly the janitor or the cafeteria lady. I mean, when I was at school, I mean, I had certain students that would just come and talk to me. Like I knew I was their touch point, and sometimes that's what they needed. It is the communication, it is the connection, and it is a matter of the students. You don't have to talk to them all the time. It's a matter of them just knowing you are there and they can come to you, and that no matter what it is, they're accepted. And that is the other part because some children are running around and they're and I hear this more and more, and I'm sure you do too, where the children that appear to be okay are really not okay. And we're finding out more and more. And so I think it's just a matter of being open, making yourself an open person to communication, and I think there are more people than they even realize how they can help by just lending their ear.
Mhm. I love how you said, that in many ways the children, the students, they pick that adult,
Mhm.
they will gravitate toward trusted adults, and, I think sometimes too, it's hard for our students to see how many of those people really do exist, right? In and around you, and at various levels, sometimes one of those persons, one of those trusted adults is just someone who allows you, a little quiet space to get away, maybe come eat your lunch, in the counseling office. You know, maybe it's your coach who you get to have really great in-depth conversations with, but I love how you brought it back to kind of just presence. Um, you don't always have to have, in-depth skills for helping to counsel our students. Just giving them that smile every day, having a unique connecting moment. And a lot of our adult staff members, you pointed to custodians and cafeteria staff and secretaries and nurses. They're offering those, I would say, kind of bite-sized opportunities for support on a pretty regular basis. So, finding those helpers, recognizing how our kids are finding those helpers, and maybe even, helping our kids take stock, who are your people? Who are the people that you can turn to? And if you're feeling like it's kind of a light list, what can we do to build that out?
Absolutely, and there are, whatever they're involved in, that might be the person who they
Mhm.
wanna talk to, and I am, touched by all the professionals in the school setting because of they're there because they care and they wanna be there, and so that to me is also very important, and, I actually think that if there are some seniors in the community that would like to come in, maybe that's something you do where they can come in and it's good for them for communication and
Connection.
integration, absolute connection,
Yeah.
because maybe that's, someone, maybe their grandparent passed and they're looking for that kind of thing. So it's very diverse, I would say.
Yeah, so helping to find those connections, and helping, our students, I think, learn, they like to communicate in their own ways, of course, but, like you intergenerationally, what's the best way for us to establish a connection, say, with a senior in the community or, a professional adult, learning to connect across a variety of different platforms, capabilities, opportunities, those can be a little bit challenging. So let's kind of lean into some of those challenges, obstacles, and also some of the misperceptions around needs that our students have and connecting for wellness in the community. What do you see in the work that you do?
I would have to say that teens at first reach out to their own students, that they're friends with and
Yeah,
everything.
peers. Mhm.
Yeah, they're looking at their peers, and peers can help them to a certain degree, but they really need to get more professional help. And it is a matter of, I think, them connecting with various organizations in the community that can then lead them. Like I think about mental health associates and all those kinds of organizations that are there in their community, either church community or whatever. If they are there and they have a program that can help assist them get to the needed people, that is something that I think is hard for them because I think a latest statistic I saw is 2 in 5 teenagers feel like they need a lot more help, and the parents don't realize that their children are struggling as badly as they are. But, I think there is a huge community that they can reach out to, and they can find the resources through their school and through their school social worker if they can't take care of it in the school setting. So,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
would
It's not lost on me too that you started your career as a police dispatcher, right? So, like, in the most literal way, connecting people in times of crisis to resources in their community. But I think that's one of the challenges that I hear the most from youth, particularly middle school, high school, is not really even knowing how to navigate the resources that exist in their communities, how to ask for help. Obviously, our preference is always going to be that trusted adult relationship. Like you said, sort of the first of the concentric circles around an individual is usually their peers. But we want their peers. We want all of them to know, okay, if this is above my pay grade, if this is above my capability, if it's more than just being present for my friend and talking it out with them, where do I go now? What resources do I have in the schoolhouse? And what resources exist outside of the schoolhouse? When is it an emergency? When is it like I need to call 911, right? So I think talking a little bit about how we educate our students, how they are able to connect with resources. What do you see? I know the work that you do at this point in your career is very much about that. So let's talk about some of those solutions for connecting kids to resources, for allowing them another channel to ask for help.
well, if I may talk about school responder. So
Sure, yeah.
basically, it's a communication system, and it's a way because children have such a hard time now looking adults in the eyes. It's much different when we were younger. I mean, that's the way we communicated, and I think that's been lost, and I
Mhm.
find that it's harder for them, and I'm hearing a lot of mental health professionals saying that in some instances, even when they're in sessions, that they cannot get the person to look them in the eye.
Yeah.
So the suggestion is, do they start texting,
Right.
you
You
know,
gotta start somewhere.
to get
Yep.
it started and until they can get to that point where they can come out and talk, and that's why, we developed it is I wanted these students to reach out because of them coming to my office and to them coming and having, situations that maybe I shouldn't have been dealing with. It was someone who was more of a social worker who could get them to the other, needs that they had that could be fulfilled in the community, be it homelessness or food insecurity or, a mental health situation. I really think that from what I'm seeing by the students when they're reaching out, they so need a voice. I just saw some things recently where, it was day-to-day life that was overwhelming them, problem at home, their dog died, really set them back,
Right, those resiliency issues, right?
they really are having a hard time with that, and I'm finding in the research that I'm doing that, like I said, a lot of the parents, actually it's 93%, really think that they're doing okay by their kiddos. And I know they think they are, but they're not getting that full connection because they need someone other than a non-parent, and if they do that, they are actually finding out that there's less behavioral issues, less substance issues, less mental health issues if they're able to be with a non-parental support person. And so, I think of like Boys and Girls Club, how supportive they are and those kinds of things that would be open to a student as well.
Absolutely. There is such power in those other adult connections and resources. And as a parent, of course you want to be it all to your child. The nature of the relationship is there's sometimes a little bit of a wall. Your kids want to show that they're being successful, they're doing the right
With
things, they're always putting their best foot forward, and sometimes it can make it hard for them to come directly to their parent. So helping them to connect to some of those other resources, and I love, the idea, let's meet them where they are. Let's lean into the technology as a means of asking for help, or even just, hey, I've got a friend who
yeah,
I don't think he's eating outside of school. I'm concerned for my friend. I'm concerned, there's a personality change. He's not himself. And um, you know, I don't know what to do. So what mechanisms, are we creating to help our kids find the helpers, because some in that moment of crisis, that brain is not it's not working. It's not firing on all cylinders, right? And that's the same for adults too. So how do we, kind of help our students to just reach out and ask for that help? You don't have to do the thinking. There are plenty of other people to step in and support until till your brain is
yeah.
is is back online.
Yeah. And that's what it is. I mean, in that moment, we all know how it is when we have something that catches us off guard, and I think we need to let them know that that's normal. I think we need to normalize some of the things that they're dealing with and talk to them about that when they do, and then so they aren't, embarrassed to say, "Well, I didn't know what to do." No, you wouldn't know what to do. You're a young person, and we're
You don't have to have all the answers. Yeah,
no, not at all, not at all, and
right?
I try I try sometimes.
I know.
And it might be and you think with all these years, but there are these times, and so that's why, the communication is set up so it can be real quick, real easy. It's set up. They have the right people coming to you in the schools, and they try very, very hard to do that. And I think about from being a staff member in the school is noticing the changes, and I could see that in the students, and I'd be saying, hey, did you notice, all of a sudden she's got this, let's say, not that it's bad, a goth look, or her hair is darker, or she's doing her makeup different, hanging out with people I didn't see her before.
It's just like a 180, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
just an extreme change,
mm,
in terms of appearance maybe, or friends hanging out with, friend groups, all of that.
quieter, that kind of thing, all of those kind of things are tells about, what may be going on. And I think as adults and even their peers, they do notice it. And peers I have found are very good at reporting what we call tips on our system about someone because they care and they care so much about one another. I think that is one thing that is just amazing about our youth is they have great hearts and they care about one another, and they will help them get the resources or get them to a person that they feel is gonna get them to the resources, so
It is, kinda makes my heart swell when I see that, because that's a key, difference, I would say between, the my generation, yours, and our kids today is, they really do stand up for one another, they really do seek to help. That is another unique hallmark, I think, of youth today, and it's a wonderful thing. So you were a helper, you, not just as a police dispatcher, but, you were a helper in the school community. I'm just curious from that helper kind of, perspective, what did that look like? Like, when a student was coming to you in your role in the school, how did you meet that need in that moment? Or maybe there was a moment where you couldn't meet that need. So what did that process look like for you?
yeah. It was both. I think the thing that, I found is when I was a police dispatcher, as you said, like, I heard things, you've heard me tell this before, that were very horrific, but I wasn't there. Now I have these students coming to me, and, some of them just needed an ear for 5 minutes. They just wanted to talk, and so, I'd let them say what they'd have to say, and like, "Are you feeling better about that situation?" "Are you okay to go back to class?" And, "Yep, yep, I'm feeling good." I'm like, "Okay." But no, you can come back to me. The door is always open. And then there are these other situations where it was, something that I needed, someone to deal with from, like, homelessness or food insecurity or, a bad home situation where I would need to get others involved. And sadly, and a lot of this was before COVID even, some students were in non-communicative states, sometimes. I mean, it was very heartbreaking, because to me, students shouldn't be having those situations. I never dreamt until I fully came into the education setting, how difficult it was for some students, but it made me reflect on when I was in school. Oh, that was what was going on, and my heart, feel for, my classmates, even now when I think about them, we're all very close. Well, tell you what anniversary is coming up for us, but needless to say, you do have to, just be there, be available, and know that then maybe it is a student referral. Maybe someone really needs to do behavioral evaluation of that student and find out and help them get the needs that they need and put them in the support group within the school that they can talk, more openly and weekly or biweekly, whatever they're needing to get through whatever it is going on with them.
Well said, well said. And the more that we can do to create those channels, increase the number of helpers that our students are connecting with and that we in turn have available to us. So when you do, many of you listening today find yourself in that position of, okay, I'm it. Because the student is coming to me and we got to figure this thing out. I don't have the answers. Who are my helpers? What resources exist in my community? Because it can't stop with me. I can't send a student in need off
Right.
without an answer, without a path forward.
Yeah.
So I think, as we navigate a challenging landscape with our students today in terms of helping them help themselves, helping them to find resources in the community and helping one another to be able to do that for our students. You've left us with some really great takeaways. I think for me, leaning into the fact that our students want this, our students are asking for this in a way that, I certainly didn't see when I was a high school student. We were pretty much we pretty much had a big, wall in front of ourselves and the adults as thick as possible. So some words of encouragement there. So I want to invite you at this time to share, any other strategies, solutions, what actions we might take to serve our kids and our communities better. This is your chance, Barb, to sound off.
Okay. In that regard, I would definitely say make the students and all them feel open to coming to you, anyone else in the community within your school. I was very fortunate in that there were teachers that were behavioral and emotional experts. There were the social worker, there were counselors and school psychs is to go ahead and have that communication. One student put through our system is the first time they felt like they had a voice. I want to give the students a voice to let them know to come communicate, in the way that they best can through our system. Obviously, it is putting in a check-in about themselves or a tip about someone else. And then, the other thing is I think school officials need to really harness the data and the calls that they're receiving so that they can best address what is going on. Maybe they add a new service to the school setting, but that is, I feel, the best way to listen to them. As we like to say through our system, they talk through their thumbs or their fingers but that is what I would say is be there, be present, look for, a communication system that suits you, that is going to work the best to get those. And because schools are so vast and so different, you might have a very, high population school. You might have a very small rural one, which makes the whole reaction and availability quite different. Because those that people might think, oh, the student needs to go to the counselor. Well, maybe that's not the person. Maybe it is the school nurse. And I can't tell you, my aunt was a school nurse, how often they do come and they'll find that, like I said, their person to come and talk to. So I hope that is helpful.
No, I love it. I think, we have to I think we said earlier, meet them where they are, right? The idea is to get to the point where we can have those kind of face-to-face supports, but whatever we can do to kind of step into their world a little bit and facilitate those connections, that's fantastic. So where do you, get resources? Where would you point us to, great resources to help better, build that infrastructure in our communities to help foster connectedness? Are there any programs, websites, books we should read? What have you got for us?
Yeah. I would definitely say go and reach out, go out through and look online. There's a lot of great institutions. There is Mental Health America. There is Lady Gaga has a great system for mental health advocates as well for teenagers, which I think is phenomenal. There is SAMHSA because sometimes mental health issues are caused through, those issues, and they have great little bullet points in SAMHSA where you can say, what should I be looking at? That it go, wow, okay, and it's someone that's official. There's a lot of information out there. You need to go to a credited website or person to get the right information. And there are those where you can just call and talk, like, through 988. They can help point you to the right direction as well. And I do know that some communities do have, lines through their churches, through their community organizations. I think there are some great resources if they go to their county mental health agency.
Mhm.
And that would be a great way for them to reach out. But in the school setting, it just go there. They do have a lot of information on the school websites. They have great people working in the schools who can help you get the resources. And if you're afraid to look it up yourself, or you have difficulty as a student trying to navigate that, go to that trusted adult. They will help you. They will be there for you because they care.
Mhm. Love it. Well, that's a great place for us to end this conversation. We'll have to have you back for some more, but this has been a wonderful conversation with Barb Grimm. Thank you for joining us on the Sound Off, Barb.
Thank you for the opportunity, Michelle. I appreciate it.